In episode 51 of the CySec101 training series, we're going to go through the FlareVM, the Flare virtual machine, which has an arsenal of tools for investigation. So this is more for digital forensics than anything else, and for investigative security than anything else. And of course, this is a part of the defensive security tooling module in the CySec101 pathway of TryHackMe, and it happens to be the very last room, which is basically like the last practical kind of informative room when it comes down to techniques and tools that we're going to be using. And then right after that, we're going to just go into the last couple of modules for security principles and the training impact on teams. And that's basically it. We're going to end up wrapping up Cybersecurity 101, which is something that I'm actually very excited about. As a part of this specific video, we're going to go through the introduction for FlareVM. We're going to look at the various arsenal of tools, commonly used tools for investigations, the overview, analyzing an actual malicious file or files, and then we're going to go through the conclusion, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a couple of final notes, and you will be dismissed for the day. And that's pretty much it. I'm really excited about this one. This is another one of those tools that I did not get a chance to check out yet, so I'm pretty stoked to share it with you. If you're serious about your CySec training and want to get access to me on Discord, consider joining Hackaholics Anonymous. We have 4 tiers: the supporter, agent, guardian, and master, and each tier gets their own Discord server and early access to content. The agent, guardian, and master levels get exclusive content, exclusive downloads, bug bounties, monthly Python automations, live streams with me every month, plus so much more. And to join, you can simply click the link in the description below, or you can go to our homepage and click the join button there, or you can go to youtube.com/@HankHacksHackers/join, and you'll be able to join Hackaholics Anonymous. Now, without further ado, let us jump into the FlareVM room. The Flare in FlareVM stands for Forensics, Logic Analysis, and Reverse Engineering, and it's a comprehensive and carefully curated collection of specialized tools uniquely designed to meet the specific needs of reverse engineers, malware analysts, incident responders, forensics investigators, and penetration testers. So this is a pretty robust series of tools, or arsenal, I guess I should say. This toolkit, expertly crafted by the Flare team at FireEye, is a powerful aid in unraveling digital mysteries, gaining insight into malware behavior, and delving into complex details within executables. So very, very comprehensive list of tools, it seems like. The objective for this video is to explore the tools inside of FlareVM, to learn how to use the tools to analyze potentially malicious processes effectively, and be familiar with the tools that are used for static analysis of malicious documents and binaries. So it's kind of similar to what we went through when we were looking at the series of tools that was available inside of, I want to say, Remnux. It was like a few of the things that were available inside of Remnux. But there's more inside of FlareVM. This room expects you that you're familiar with the technical terms released related to Windows and processes. If you're unfamiliar with these, go through the pre-security path, which we've already done. So you should be very familiar with these things. Hopefully, I hope you are. But if not, I'll still do like a good glaze over some of these things just in case you're not familiar with them. And then if you want, you can do some independent research to learn about them. I've already launched my virtual machine, which is a part of the TryHackMe subscription that I have, but you can always get your own version or get your own installation of FlareVM and go through these things alongside with me. FlareVM, I believe, is free. So let's see if we can do FlareVM download and see what we can get. FlareVM is a collection of software installations. It's available through GitHub, so it is actually free, and it's something that you can definitely use on your computer as well. So there is that. Almost all the files that we will be using is inside of our location for this room. The disclaimer here is that this contains malicious example files as part of the practical exercises and has no internet access. They should not be downloaded, executed outside of the FlareVM machine, or distributed under any circumstances. Doing so could potentially harm your system or network. Always handle files only in isolated, controlled, and secured environments. That's actually a very good note to give us, and I'm glad they gave us that. I wasn't going to download these anyways, but I'm glad they told us that. Okay, cool. So let's move on to the official arsenal of tools, excuse me. inside of FlareVM. The tools inside of FlareVM have several categories that they fall under. We have the reverse engineering and debugging, and so it's Ghidra, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Ghidra or G Hydra maybe, but I want to say Ghidra. It's developed by the NSA and it's open source reverse engineering suite. We have x64DBG, which is open source for binaries in x64 and x32 architectures. We have OllyDBG for reverse engineering at the assembly level. We have RayDare or RawDare, a sophisticated open source for reverse engineering, Binary Ninja, disassembling and decompiling binaries, and PEID, a packer cryptor and compiler detection tool. Then we have the disassemblers and decompilers, the CFF Explorer, Hopper, Disassembler, and RetTech. And CFF is designed to analyze and edit portable executables. Hopper is a debugger, disassembler, and decompiler, and RetTech is an open source decompiler for machine code. And of course, we have static and dynamic analysis. No toolkit would be complete without static and dynamic analysis tools. So obviously, FlareVM also has them. Static is when you look at the code of the tool or you look at the tool itself without actually running it. And dynamic is when you run it and you look at how it behaves and what it does, what methods it executes, as it goes through its run. So static, as the name implies, is static. It's stationary. We're not doing anything. We're not running it. Dynamic, as the name implies, is that essentially it's like a dynamic, spontaneous kind of an environment. You're running the tool to see how it works. So we have the process hacker, which is sophisticated memory editor and process watcher. We have PEView, portable executable file viewer for analysis, dependency walker for displaying an executable's DLL dependencies, and then DIE, oh my god, detected easy, a packer compiler and cryptor detection tool. Then we have forensics and incident response. And so incident response is more of a live type of an environment. As an incident is happening, you want to respond to it as best as you can. Forensics is more so after the fact, when you do some kind of an investigation and you're trying to track or reverse engineer what happened. So we have volatility, which we used in the last video, and this is for the volatile memory, which is memory that can be wiped if you restart the computer or if the computer accidentally shuts down. So it's stored inside of the RAM. So anytime that we refer to memory in these contexts of conversations, we're not talking about the hard drive or the storage memory. We're talking about the random access memory, the volatile memory that can be wiped if you restart the computer. So volatility is one of the key tools for that. Then we have recall for memory forensics and incident response. And then we have FTK Imager, which is a really popular one, stands for Forensic Toolkit. And it's an imager that takes images of the disk and helps you analyze them as well. Of course, we have network analysis, so Wireshark, Nmap, and NCAT. There are multiple videos on this channel for every single one of these tools. These are very, very common tools when it comes down to network analysis. File analysis would be File Insight for looking through the and editing binary files. We have HexFiend, the hex editor, and we have HXD, which is for file viewing of binary files and editing within a hex editor. Scripting and automation, of course, Python, of course, PowerShell. Python is one of my favorite, if not my favorite language when it comes down to automation. There are multiple videos on this channel for Python, including a Python for cybersecurity video that is all inclusive. It goes from the very beginner, which is, downloading and installing Python, downloading your favorite IDE, which is PyCharm for me, and then creating your very first program, learning about functions, variables, lists, dictionaries, etc., and then working your way all the way up to building your very first algorithm for cybersecurity. So pretty intensive and comprehensive video is the Python for cybersecurity video on this channel. So check that out if you have not checked it out already. And of course, PowerShell, because it's a Windows framework and it's very, very powerful, no pun intended. Then we have the SysInternals suite. And this is utilizing to help IT professionals and developers manage, troubleshoot, and diagnose Windows systems. So SysInternals is dedicated to Windows operating systems. So auto runs, which is what executables are configured to run during system boot up, Process Explorer, and Process Monitor, which are the running processes as well as processes that can be monitored and logged in real time. And then there's of course, I would say there's probably more inside of FlareVM. I think these are like the most common ones, but even this is a pretty comprehensive list of software and tools that are available. So a very, very, very robust operating system or virtual machine that, I mean, that's pretty solid, dude. Honestly, when you think about it, it's pretty darn solid. So there's a lot, right? We're going to tackle all these tools, or we're not going to tackle all these tools right now because it could take months to finish, because each one of them, you can have an entire training series just dedicated to each one of these tools one by one. Literally, you can have an entire training series, an entire class dedicated to Python. And I'm talking about like a college class. There are people that specialize in Python, and there are so many things that you can learn just about Python, or just about PowerShell, or just about, Nmap, whatever it is. There's just a lot that you could do. So we're not going to go through all of them, but we will be looking at some of the most common ones and the more standard ones for investigation. So which tool is an open source debugger for binaries in x64 and x32? And so this is what I always do, just to kind of cheat it. If there's a lot of content, I will just copy it and I will search through the page for that. So it's going to be the x64 dbg, and then we will click back and then go back to the question and then paste it in here, and there's the answer. So what tool is designed to analyze and edit portable executable files? So we'll do this, and then we will copy, find, and then go through the course. And then so there's 3 references to it. And CFF Explorer is the one designed to analyze and edit portable executable files. So we'll go back again. So it's kind of a cheat, but I mean, I'm a hacker, you know what I mean? Like, you have to find hacks even as you go through the studies, which is considered a sophisticated memory editor and process watcher. So that's the one that I probably need to go a little bit through. So let's see if we can search for process watcher, see if we find anything. Oh, and indeed there is a second option. So let's see what the second one is. And that is the process hacker. Look at that. A hacker for the hacker. You gotta love it. You got to love it. Which tool is designed for disk image acquisition? And this one I know for a fact. So it is the forensic toolkit. No. Oh, it's not. So disk image acquisition and analysis for forensic. I really thought that it was the FTK toolkit. So forensic toolkit, is that not it? What is it? Oh, FTK Imager. That's what it is. FTK Imager. Okay, I got it. I was pretty close. So FTK Forensic Toolkit Imager. That's what it is. What tool can be used to view and edit a binary file? And then, of course, we're going to run through that. There's actually multiple, but this is the one. HXD is the one that shows up for that. So that is our very last question. I mean, I do that fairly. If there's a lot of content that I have to sift and sort through, that's kind of my approach to try to find it. And when you know how to reference these things, when you know how to do research, that's like one of the big skills that comes with anything in tech in general. You just have to learn how to research to try to find the thing that you really need. And searching through a massive document using the control find or command find, or maybe Python, or maybe CyberChef or something like that. These are some of the key skills that you need to learn how to do if you want to do things quickly. Okay, so just giving you a little bit of a tip right there. That's kind of like a learning hack, an educational hack. All right, so let's look at the commonly used tools for investigation. These specific tools are used for initial investigations. So we have the ProcMon, which is the process monitor for tracking system activity, like malware research, troubleshooting, and forensic investigations. We have Process Explorer to see the process of the parent-child relationship, the DLLs, the dynamic link libraries that are loaded, and the paths associated with them. We have HXD, the malicious files that can be examined or altered via hex editing. Wireshark for network sniffing and network traffic. Very, very powerful tool. We use that a lot as well. There's, I would say, probably at least 5 videos on Wireshark on this channel. We have the CFF Explorer, which can generate file hashes for integrity verification, authenticate the source of a system file, and validate their validity. We have PE Studio, the static analysis or studying executable file properties without actually running the file. And then we have Floss, which extracts and deobfuscates all strings from malware programs using advanced static analysis techniques. So we can follow along and open them on FlareVM while we discuss the overview of some of these things. So I'm going to go through the screenshots, and if we do need to launch them for the actual questions that we need to answer, then I'll go ahead and launch them. But for the most part, we're just going to follow along with the documentation and the notes. And if we need to pull anything, we will. So this is the process monitor, also known as ProcMon, and it's a Windows tool that's designed to help you record issues with your system's apps. It lets you see, record, and keep track of system and Windows file activity in real time, and is helpful for tracking system activity, especially regarding malware research, troubleshooting, and forensic investigation. It keeps real-time tabs on the file system registry and thread process activity. So when we look at the screenshot, this is what we got. So these are, each line item presents a given event that's taking place, right? So the time of the day that it took place, the process ID, the operation that was ran using that process ID, the path of it, whether or not it was a success or a failure, and the details of it. So non-cached or I keep saying cache until somebody corrected me. So I guess that's supposed to be non-cached, which still feels kind of odd to me. But so these are the examples in this particular case, right? So this is for the process monitor. So according to this entry, according to the entries that we have above us in that screenshot, the local security authority subsystem service, which is LSAS, related to the process LSAS exe, has successfully read a file. So you can see the operation was read file, right? It handles authentication and frequently communicates with crucial system files such as the LASRV, the Local Security Authority Service server service. Although this is a standard process, LSAS may be the target of credential dumping attacks if you're examining logs for indications of malicious activity. Mimikatz and other tools frequently try to access the LSAS memory. In these situations, you should watch for any additional suspicious activity related to LSAS, which as odd access patterns or processes reading or writing to LSAS. So these are not going to show any malware signs in case you actually want to run them. Then we have the Process Explorer. It offers in-depth insights into the active processes running on the computer. It allows us to delve deeper into the inner workings of the system, providing a comprehensive list of currently running processes and their linked user accounts. If you've ever been curious about which program is accessing a specific file or folder, Process Explorer can provide us with that information. So this is what we have as far as our screenshot is concerned. And then you can see right here, so explorer.exe, see if I can zoom in on this. We have explorer.exe, and underneath it, we have the CFF Explorer, ProcXP64, and WordPad that are all under explorer.exe. And so the creators or the authors of it, so Daniel Pistelli, Sysinternals, Microsoft Corporation, as well as the actual command itself, the description of it, the common file format explorer is the CFF Explorer, etc. So this is what the process monitor, or process explorer allows us to find. This is the kind of details, the kind of information that it gives us. So from the image above, the CFF Explorer app is open using Process Explorer. Located on the desktop, we identify the process and its parent process. This is usually pretty useful when we want to monitor what other processes are being spawned, such as from a Word document, an LNK file, which stands for link files or desktop shortcuts. So when you create a shortcut or a link file, it's not the actual copy of the process itself. You're literally just creating a file that points to the original copy. So this is also known as a what is it? I completely forget it. We actually talked about it inside the Linux Plus training series as well. It'll come to me. Soft link. There you go. So you have hard links that are actual copies of the item, and then you have soft links that are just pointing to the item, essentially a shortcut. I'm so happy that I remember that. Also, an ISO file, as threat actors typically abuse these types of files as well. So when we want to monitor what other processes are being spawned, the shortcut to it, or even the ISO, which would be the image of that, we can go ahead and find it inside of the Process Explorer. The HXD, for some reason that's really hard for me to say. I have to pause before I say it. This is a Tool for hex editor. So editing files, memory, drives of any capacity can be applied to forensic investigation, data recovery, debugging, and exact manipulation of binary data. Important features include viewing file and memory contents, editing, searching, comparing hex data. And this is what this looks like. So you have the hex data, and then we have the inspectors of it that gives us some kind of information about it. And this is actually beyond my depth as well. I do recognize the hex portion of this, but this portion of the type of data that's being extracted, if I had some time to kind of investigate into it or research it, I would probably figure it out. I'm not going to deny that, but at first glance, it's not something that I recognize because I have not used this specific tool before. So the editor snapshot shows the binary file possiblemedusa.txt. So this is what we have up here. So possiblemedusa.txt is what we have at the top of it. Where is it? Let's go down here. The hex data on the left indicates the file's contents in hexadecimal, and the ASCII interpretation appears on the right. Interestingly, the file starts with 4D5A, which is little endian, indicating it is executable. The data inspector on the right shows you to examine individual bytes by displaying their values in many data types, integers, floats, facilitating a more straightforward data evaluation. So this is, I guess, what we see right here inside the data inspector portion right here. So we have the binary 8-bit, etc., etc. By permitting in-depth examination of a file's unprocessed hexadecimal data, HXD or HexD, I think that's what it is, HexD maybe, facilitates inquiry by identifying file kinds, structures, and possible corruption. Its data inspector feature helps by offering insights to particular byte values. And then we have the CFF Explorer. It has getting comprehensive file information. Investigators can generate file hashes for integrity verification, authenticate the source of file systems, validate their validity by looking for unusual alterations. It's important to know when analyzing malware, since dangerous code may be hidden in altered system files. So when you look at the hash values, right? So when you look at the hash values or the checksums of a file, if even the smallest edit has been done to that file, the hash value changes. So for example, we have the MD5 hash and the SHA-1 hash. If these things change, even if literally one extra dot has been added to the contents of the file, these values change completely. And so if you're keeping track of this, which is usually what happens during some kind of an investigation, there's a chain of custody form. When you have chain of custody forms, inside of those forms, you document the hash values at every exchange. So if I capture the information, I document the hash values. I pass it to the guy in the evidence locker, and he takes it, and then in that interaction, in that exchange, we document the hash values again. And I say, when I transferred it to this person, these were the hash values, and the person signs off, I sign off on it. And then when that person transfers it to the next person, they do the same thing. And if for whatever reason the hash values have been changed, that means either the person in the evidence locker messed with the information, or somebody got into the evidence locker and messed with the information. So therefore, the information has lost its integrity. So this is the crypto miner binary that we see over here. These are the name, type, info size, and then the hash values for it. And then you have any comments. So this looks like Russian, company name, reg edit is the file description, and then we have the copyright again, etc. So in the crypto miner binary, details are displayed in the sample. On September 23, 2024, a portable executable file was generated. This file information can be verified by the hashes. During investigations, this tool aids in confirming file information lookup and locating possible problems. So just the very, very basic overview of what this actually can be done. But in forensic investigations and chain of custody, and then ultimately legal proceedings, this is very, very important information. So just keep that in mind. Wireshark, which is for network analysis, a very powerful tool. It's also open source, and it's very amazing. It doesn't do anything for you, meaning like it doesn't point out anything that would be suspicious for you, but it gives you so much detail and granular information about all of the packets that go in and out of a network, that if you know what you're looking for, then you can actually find it because you get all of the details. So you can hunt down dubious connections. I love the word dubious. You can hunt down dubious connections, examine protocols, and spot possible assaults or data exfiltration. In this case, the TLS v12 suggests a secure encrypted connection that can mask harmful activity or safeguard legitimate traffic. And so TLS v12 that we see right here can be something that was resulted from using Google, right? Or using essentially any website that actually has TLS certificates as a part of their encryption, which usually TLS is associated with some kind of high-end encryption that is available for Gmail or Google Drive or, you know, any solid website that actually has really good certificates. So this is the information that we see on the bottom left right here, that we can break each one of these open, and then they go based on the layers of the OSI model. So you have layer 1, you have layer 2, the data link layer, you have layer 3, the network layer, layer 4, the TCP layer, the transmission or the transport layer, excuse me. And then from there, we also have the transport layer security. That is some of the extra details of this specific packet that was chosen. And of course, you have the hexadecimal and ASCII versions of the code as well, or of the packet data as well. So we have the protocol, source, destination, other information. Most packets show that TLS v12 and TCP are being used for encrypted transmission. The raw packet data is shown in ASCII and hexadecimal forms, with a significant chunk encrypted using TLS v12. We can look into the module for Wireshark. Again, all of these things are available on this channel because I have gone into every single one of these videos right here. So you can see there's check marks for all of these. So Wireshark basics, packet operations, traffic analysis, and display filters, capture filters, all of that stuff. All those videos are already on this channel, so check them out. We have PE Studio for static analysis or studying executable file properties without actually running them. This feature is beneficial in several situations. It offers a variety of information about a file without putting users in danger of executing them, which aids in identifying executables that seem suspect or harmful. So you can actually look at the file itself, the source code, and all of its elements without actually running it and determining whether or not it is indeed malicious. So, of course, it has the hash values for it. It has the first bytes hexadecimal. It has the file size, entropy, signature of its entry point file version. It is executable, the CPU architecture, etc. So it has a good amount of information on it, but I'm pretty sure it'll also help you just determine whether or not it is actually malicious. So this is the examination of an executable file, psexec, which is not in our virtual machine. This is a pure example. A static malware analysis tool. So the file has a dual purpose, legitimate for system administrators, but potentially exploited by hackers for remote access. This is what psexec can actually do, and we've actually ran a few pentest ethical hacking exercises using psexec. The file's entropy value of 6.596 indicates a remote chance of packing or encryption, which is typical of dangerous software. Version 2.34 of this 32-bit console-based application allows it to run programs remotely, a feature frequently used to migrate laterally during attacks. And this is assembled using the C++ language. The dual-use nature of psexec, typically legitimate but suspicious in compromised environments, combined with low to medium indicators that moderately high entropy, makes its presence on a system concerning, especially if remote code execution is not expected. So if you don't expect remote connections to take place or remote code executions to take place, if you see something like this, that is immediately a red flag. And usually IP addresses or machines that are not meant to be connected to remotely have pretty strong safeguards in place. They have firewall rules in place, they have IDS rules in place, and a variety of other safeguards that prevent, and even just the system configuration itself, that prevent remote connections to be established. So if you know for a fact that a computer is not supposed to be connected to remotely, and then you see something like psexec, that is immediately a red flag. So its use in post-exploitation phases warrants further investigation to determine if it's being misused maliciously. And that is what psexec is known for. So psexec, you can just think about it as a remote connection tool for Windows. And if it's being executed on a machine that should not be connected to remotely, that is a red flag. Then we have FLOSS, so Advanced Static Analysis, the Flare Obfuscated String Solver, also known as FLOSS, formerly FireEye Labs Obfuscated String Solver. So FLOSS is probably better. It automatically extracts and de-obfuscates all strings from malware programs like strings.exe. It can enhance the basic static analysis of unknown binaries. FLOSS also includes more Python scripts in the scripts directory, which can be used to load scripts output into other programs like IdaPro or Binary Ninja. And so this is what a sample command looks like inside of PowerShell. So we have FLOSS, and then we're just running it against the Cobalt Strike executable, which is actually a malicious executable used inside of the Cobalt Strike attacks that happened. And you can learn more about that on the MITRE ATT&CK framework website. Cobalt Strike is one of those famous attacks that took place. And so this is what the results would look like if we ran it. So Flare FLOSS results, we have the file path, identified language, expected strings, the static strings, language strings, stack strings, etc. And so there's a good amount of static strings, 189. Then we have the static string that were pulled from it, right? So you can look at a variety of these different things, and at first glance, unless you really know what you're looking for, not much of it stands out. And even for me, a lot of this stuff doesn't stand out. But it was of note enough for FLOSS to actually extract this information and pull them as the static strings. And so you have this now. This is very interesting, that the long series of A's, and we have set valid or set invalid parameter handler. Now we're actually getting into some interesting strings that are being pulled. Partial loss of significance, total loss of significance, unknown error, runtime failure. I think, no, these are still strings that are actually being pulled. So there you go. So now it's getting very interesting, right? So delete critical selection, enter critical selection, get current process, process ID, thread ID, last error, module handle, proc address, startup info, system time, ticket count, etc. So it seems like there's been a good amount of commandlets that have been run on PowerShell from this specific Cobalt Strike. And then FLOSS static strings, the MSVCRT, dynamic link library, and that's it. So it extracted 189 static strings from the binary, which may contain hard-coded information like the paths, URLs, that are usually for C2 servers, command and control servers, IP addresses, API calls, error messages, registry encryption keys, and configuration data. No decoded strings were identified, suggesting that FLOSS did not detect or decode dynamically generated or obfuscated strings during this analysis. Malware frequently uses obfuscated strings to conceal its malicious behavior. And we just know, just based on studies that I've done before, that Cobalt Strike is actually a part of a malicious campaign. So just hearing that name, especially in an executable, it raises all kinds of flags, and you really want to proceed with caution. So important to keep that in mind. Now, which tool was formerly known as the Flare Obfuscated String Solver? And that's the one that we just looked at, which is FLOSS. And which tool offers in-depth insights into the active processes running on your computer? And that is the Process Explorer. By using the Process Explorer tool, under what process can we find the SMSS executable? So now we actually, it seems like we actually have to run it. So let me go ahead and run Process Explorer, which is right there. Can I zoom in on this? I have to manually do it. So that's Process Explorer. So I'm going to run it, and there it is. Let's see if we can drag it onto the center of this thing right here. That is a very weird setup that this looks like. So let's expand that. Excellent. There we go. So we are looking for the parent process for SMSS exe, and it's right here. So SMSS exe, and then we have the system. So we can just type in system. Which powerful Windows tool is designed to help you record issues with your system's apps? So it's designed to help you record issues. So I'm just going to highlight record issues as my little cheat, and let's see if we can find anything. And we do. So Process Monitor, also known as Procmon, is the one that helps you record issues in your computer or with your system's applications. Which tool can be used for static analysis or studying executable file properties without running the files? So Floss was actually one of them. So let's kind of shrink this so we don't have to take so much space. Floss was actually one of them, and then there was PE Studio for static analysis without actually running them. So since we've already used Floss, I'm going to say PE Studio would be that answer. Using the tool PE Studio to open the file crypto miner in the desktop sample folder, what is the SHA-256 value of the file? So I'm just going to close Process Explorer, and I will do PE Studio here. Open that up, and then we're going to look for the crypto miner binary. So we can go right here, and there's two ways that we can open a file, and this is pretty standard with all of the software that is installed on Windows machines. Really, you can either do file open, or you can typically click this piece right here where it says open file. So that's like a shortcut icon to open a file. So we'll do that, and then we want the crypto miner binary. There we go. And so we're just going to open that. And we're looking for the SHA-256 value, which is right here. So let me see if I can copy this. This would be great if I could copy that value. Click on that and copy value. Boom, there you go. So we right-clicked on the SHA-256. So let me see if that actually pastes, and it does. Boom, excellent, that worked. Using the tool PE Studio, open the file crypto miner bin in the How many functions does it have? So we can go over here and look for the number of functions. So let's see. So the functions portion is still waiting to load. So I wonder if this is something that's going to take a little bit of time for it to process. So I'm gonna just click on it, and I'm gonna wait for it to load. And once it's finished load, oh, boom, right there. So perfect timing. 102 is the number of functions. So there we go. And what tool can generate file hashes for integrity verification, authenticate the source of system files, and validate their validity? So we know that PE Studio can actually look at the file hashes. We literally just did that. But the one that we're looking for is the one that has to do with CFF. And oh, in the next question, I just knew that CFF was in it. So it's CFF Explorer. So that's the tool. So we're going to do CFF Explorer. And that is the tool. So using the tool CFF Explorer to open the possible Medusa TXT, what is the MD5 of the file? So I'm just going to close this, and I will do CFF Explorer. And from here, we're going to look at the possible Medusa. So again, same thing, right? So if we actually go look at this, you have what? You can do file, open, or you can click on this and just open a file. And we need the possible Medusa, and there it is. So we're just going to open that one. And the MD5 is right there. So can I highlight any of these? Let's see if I can copy this. Boom, there we go. So we have to double click on it, and I'll highlight it like that. And then you can copy it, come over here, paste it. Excellent. And to open the possible Medusa, then go to the DOS header section. What is the eMagic value of the DOS header section? So this is what we got. And so this is the DOS header right there, the very first item. And we want the eMagic value, which is 5A4D is the value. So 5A4D, like that. And we are officially done with this section. That was good. It was a good amount of information, and we got a chance to actually run this software. Or the what is it? What did we run? We ran CFF Explorer, we ran PE Studio, and we ran Process Explorer. So good stuff. I actually really liked that one. So now we're going to analyze malicious files. This is going to be fun. Haha. The first malicious file would be the Windows exe file that was downloaded by a user on 9/24 at 3:43 a.m. Just that time seems very shady. It was flagged as a potential threat. The monitoring team has sent you an email to analyze it, and it is now in the desktop sample folder. So we have the Windows exe that's available. The initial approach is to perform static analysis. So we will be using PE Studio to do it. We're going to open this file with this tool. What information can we see? So we've already done PE Studio, or was it not PE Studio? No, it wasn't. It was the other one. So I'm going to open up PE Studio just in case I need to look at it. The computed MD5 and SHA-1 hashes comparisons were established with the VirusTotal database, which is a massive, very useful database. It's free. You don't need a membership or anything to actually go here. And essentially, when you get to the website, there are 3 different ways that you can search for things. You can drag and drop a file in here and it'll analyze it for you. You can drag and drop a URL in here, like an IP address or a domain name. If you think somebody shady is trying to hit you up or text you or send you an email, you can always check on that URL here. I come into this website regularly in my everyday life. When I get emails that I'm like, oh, this seems kind of shady, I'll copy the address of the email. I won't open the link, right? I'll copy the address and then I'll come over here and I'll check it. Same thing with hash values. If you can search for a URL, IP address, domain, or hash value, and you will see whether or not that thing is actually shady. So we can have either of these, right? With the databases like VirusTotal, if there are no known detections, there's a greater chance that it's a fresh or undiscovered malware campaign, also known as a 0-day. And although the file claims to be connected to Windows Registry, which is regedit, which you can see based on the description, this is likely an attempt to trick people and evade discovery. Legitimate regedit tools are usually found in the Windows System 32 directory rather than the user's download location. So that's interesting. The comments are in Russian. The version etc/5100 new.exe. So this right here, regeditor, this right here in the file's metadata is suspicious, primarily if the user's organization does not operate in Russian-speaking environment. This could potentially have profound implications for the organization. The absence of a rich header indicates that the file is potentially packed or obfuscated to avoid detection by static analysis. Typical behavior of sophisticated malware that tries to evade detection by altering the critical sections. Function tabs list API calls that the file has imported. So this is also known as the IAT, the import address table. By clicking on the blacklist tab, PE Studio will sort the API by moving all of the blacklisted functions to the top. Interesting. This is useful because it enables us to understand how malware may behave once it compromises a host, and this is what it looks like. So set use shall execute, that is blacklisted right there. Create decryptor could actually be another one as well. So there are important functions. The function use shall execute allows the process to use the operating system shell to execute other processes, and this is often in malware that spawns additional processes. Then we have CryptoStream, Rigendale managed, cipher mode, and create decryptor. These indicate that the executable uses cryptographic functions, especially Rigendale, which is AESE. And the malware uses cryptography to encrypt communications in files or even implement ransomware functionality. And that's actually that's like a key feature of ransomware, is when they encrypt the files on your computer or on your machine, and they won't give you the decryption key until you pay them. And if it's a really important computer, if it's a very sensitive computer that has a lot of critical data on it that's used for the functions of the business, if they encrypt all of your data, you are essentially screwed. If you have a good backup, if you have recent backups, you should be fine, which is why backups are a big part of disaster recovery. Redundant systems, meaning duplicate systems, are a big part of disaster recovery. But if you don't have a recent backup and something like this happens to you, you are essentially screwed. So that's just kind of like an adjacent tangent that I just went on. So analysis using floss. We're going to go to the directory where the file is, which is this location. Then the prompt for PowerShell, it says it's going to take a while to appear because I think we're just using a weak virtual machine here. We're going to run this command on that executable, and then we're going to output the results into a windows.txt file. And this is what it's going to look like when you actually run it. When you open the file and go to the bottom part of the results, we can see Rigendale managed, cipher mode, create decryptor, CryptoStream mode, all of these things inside of it. These are all familiar because we actually saw them inside of PE Studio. Then we're going to analyze with Process Explorer and Process Monitor. So we're going to analyze the network connectivity to Cobalt Strike located in this. I think this is actually a different portion of the exercise. It may not be for the same thing. So we're going to try to figure out if the file is making any network connectivity to any possible C2 server. Let's get started. Run the Cobalt Strike and open Process Explorer. Let me see if any of these questions, oh, we definitely do have it. Okay. All right. So the first series of questions have to do with the Windows EXE. So I'm going to go through that. Windows EXE. Let's see what functions allow the process to operating system shell to execute other processes, which AVL calls. Okay. And then we're going to go into I am passive Cobalt Strike. So we have 4 questions that seem to be relevant to Windows EXE. So first we are going to do all of that stuff. So let me open up the Windows EXE and answer all of those questions, and then we'll move on to the next one, because I don't want to like go back and forth and waste time and energy on all of this stuff. So it says using PE Studio, open it. What is the entropy value of the file Windows EXE? So we have entropy, which is 7.999 right there. So we're going to do that. Boom. And then using PE Studio, open it and go to the manifest administrator section. What is the value of the requested execution level? So manifest administrator, it would not be on the first portion here. It should be on the left side right here. So we are looking for the manifest, which is boom, manifest administrator. And we want the value of the requested execution level. So if I go here, I wonder if I can do Control F to search for something in here. Can I? I can't. Okay, that's fine. So I have to do manifest, or what is it? The requested execution level right here. Requested execution level is require administrator. So that is the value right there. Cool. Which function allows the process to use the operating system's shell to execute other processes? So we're going to go to the functions location, and we want the one that has to do with using the shell to execute the other processes. So let's see what I can find over here. Right there, so use shell execute. This is actually one of the things that also was pointed out in our blacklist portion as well. But so we have use shell execute. That I think that would be the function that we have over here. So let's do use shell execute. Okay, so I'm gonna do set. And then is there, let's see if we can highlight this and copy this. Copy function name. There we go. I think there's probably an underscore. Yeah, there is an underscore there. So set underscore use shell execute is the actual command, or the function, excuse me. And then so what do we have? Which API call starts with R and indicates that the executable uses cryptographic functions. So we now want to go to the API calls and to try to pull data from that. So let me see where I would be able to find that information. And from our notes, we know that the API calls are actually still also under the functions. So it starts with an R and implies that the executable uses cryptographic functions. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to see if I can organize this alphabetically, and I can. So we're going to go right here. And what do we have here? We have R. Oh, so this is it. The Rigendale manage. That's the one. So copy the function name of Rigendale manage. That should be the one. That is it. Yes, because we were talking about the advanced encryption standard. So now we are going to look at the Cobalt Strike executable. So I can close this for now because I don't think we're going to be using that immediately. So now we're going to analyze the Process Explorer and Process Monitor. So we're going to look at the Cobalt Strike. So first we're going to look at the connectivity to the C2 server. So we're going to run it and open Process Explorer. So it says run the file Cobalt Strike and open Process Explorer on the desktop from the taskbar. You can also search for it in the Windows search bar. If you manually click the binary Explorer exe, would be the parent process, and the Cobalt Strike would be the child process. So let's see if that's indeed the case. So I guess I'm running it. Thankfully, this is inside a controlled environment and it has nothing to do with my machine. So Cobalt Strike, we're just going to double click that to run it. And I got nervous, like as soon as they said run it. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. Okay, so there is that. And now I need to do Process Explorer. Now Process Explorer is right there. So we'll just open that up. And so what we are looking for is Cobalt Strike in all of these things. So I'm just going to go to filter by name at the very, very top in that search box. And I'm just going to type Cobalt. Let's see if it shows up. We do have Cobalt Strike over here. What do I need? I need to see the properties of this. So I can do properties and it will be able to show me the information about it. So if I do image, Let's see if it shows me the parent, and the parent actually is Explorer. So this is not in the way that they instructed us to do it, because they said if you technically have to go browse for it, and you'll see under Explorer that Cobalt Strike would be right there. But I didn't want to browse, so I just literally searched for Cobalt. But technically, if we go over here and if we find Explorer, which is at the very bottom, you can see that Cobalt Strike is also under it. So there's that. This information is crucial. So the goal is to determine whether this process is making any network connectivity and to what destination. The process ID is 4756. And note that the process ID might be different from your machine. Right click on it, select properties, and go to the TCP IP tab. We should be able to determine if the destination, if it connects to, and it's sent. So we're going to right click on Cobalt Strike, go to properties, and let's see what we got here. So first and foremost, I want to find the process ID for this thing, just in case I need to do other information. So what do we have for the information? For TCP IP, I do have some kind of a connection, and it is connecting to a remote host address. The local address is actually connecting to it. That is a no. That's no good. That is no. What else do we have? Let's go to image. There it is. And is there a PID that I can pull over here from this? I can't. So the PID might be probably here. And it's 2024. There you go. So 2024 is under the PID column right there. So 2024 is the PID column. We also do have a remote connection that we just saw under TCP IP. So on another note, when we're doing analysis, it needs to be verified and precise. Therefore, we won't be relying on a single tool. We'll use another tool and stop the process and rerun it. This time we want to use procmon or process monitor. It's also located on the desktop. When we open procmon looking for the binary is challenging, it will list all the active processes. What we're going to do is filter it, and we're going to do Control L to filter it. So I'm going to close this. And I'm going to, oh, you know what? No, I'm supposed to actually kill the process, right? So it says, what is it? It said, therefore, with stop the process. So I can go to the bottom, click on Cobalt Strike, and this X button right here, it kills the process. So we're going to kill that process. Yes. There you go. Process has been killed. Murdered. The process has been murdered. We are going to open up Process Monitor. And then I'm going to go open up that file again, the sample file, and we're going to double click Cobalt Strike again. And so Cobalt Strike is going to run. And so what are we looking for here? Looking for the binary challenging, as it will list all the active processes. What we're going to do is filter it, and we can do Control L, and that would be the filter icon. And using the filter involves several steps. So we want process name contains any value containing to the word or the process. In this case, it would be Cobalt. Click include and then add, and then we should be able to see it. So let's first look at the process monitor here. We do have a bunch of information. Process monitor filter. It actually opened up automatically for me, but I'm guessing this would be the item right here that would actually open that up again. So what we're looking for is, instead of architecture, we're looking for the process name, which is right here. And instead of saying is, we're going to say it contains, and it's going to contain the word Cobalt. And then include, and then add it, and then click apply. Okay. And there we go. So Cobalt Strike, thread exit, TCP disconnect, TCP reconnect, etc. So, okay. So now we have some information about Cobalt Strike, and it looks like exactly the same thing that we have over here. Oh, and it's still doing some things here. It looks like it's still doing some things. It's actually still trying to establish its connections, and it's trying to connect to its C2 server, which is what Cobalt Strike does, maybe. It's a TCP connection type of a thing. So, okay, cool. So what is the imp hash of Cobalt Strike exe? So I actually do need to reopen the other one that we had. So let's see, we want the imp hash. I don't know if that was inside of the, maybe it was inside of the Process Explorer. I feel like it's not though. I think we need to use some other tool to be able to find it. So let's see if we can actually do the Process Explorer and see if we can find the imp hash, the IMP hash of Process Explorer inside, of Cobalt Strike inside of Process Explorer. So we're going to go and look at the properties here. I mean, so it's definitely not inside of the Process Explorer. I'm going to go back to my CFF Explorer and see if I can find anything for the executable here, the Windows executable. So we'll open this up and see what we can find. So we do have the MD5 hash, we have the SHA-1 hash. So I'm going to double click this thing right here, and we're going to copy this and see if that's the answer. I think that's the answer, the MD5 hash. No, so it says, please ensure that it follows the standard presented, whatever. I want to say that was it, though. The import hash of this? My bad. I looked at the Windows exe. I'm supposed to be looking at the Cobalt Strike exe. That is so my bad. So let's do the Cobalt Strike executable. That was silly. So let's go look at Cobalt Strike. There we go. So the MD5 hash here. Let's double click that. Let's see if that's the answer. No, that's not it either. Okay, so the imp hash, I think it stands for the import hash. So what we're looking for is the import hash value, and I don't know how to pull that information. So I gotta find out how to pull that information, the import hash value of Cobalt Strike. Okay, so it is inside of PE Studio, and it has a value right there, the imp hash right there. That is it. So we are going to copy the value right there, and boom, like that, submit that, boom, excellent. Okay, cool. So what is the defanged IP address to which the process is connecting? And we can find that in the, was it inside the process monitor? Maybe we can actually find it over here as well. Yeah, it is over here. So it's 47.120 46.210, 47.120 46.210. So this is where CyberChef comes in. So we need to go to CyberChef and essentially just defang that IP address. So if you know the IP address, you just literally type it in and use the defang recipe, and it'll just defang it for you. So 47.120 46.210. So I'll do 47.120 46.210 like that. So you see that, and then from here, we'll just go inside of our operations, and I'll do defang, and then you can see that, and so defang IP address, and so we just drag that, drop it right here, and then we have the defanged value right there. And basically all it does is it just puts square brackets around all of the dots, and there you go. You put that and you're good. So what is the destination port number used by Cobalt Strike when connecting to the C2 IP address? And we should be able to also find it over here. If not, we'll be able to find it inside of the other the Process Explorer, I believe. So if we go right here and see what we can find, so internal 50143, it seems to be hosts NS. So if I click on any of these, maybe we can find it by double clicking and looking at any of these things. The process itself, let's see if we can find it over here. If not, I'm almost fairly certain that it would be inside of the Explorer. So I'm going to close the monitor, and we're going to go look at Process Explorer because we did have it over here. We're going to right click on it. We're going to look at the properties of it, and we're going to go to the TCP IP portion to try to look at the addresses that it's connecting to. And in this particular case, we should be able to expand on this and see what information that we can find. So let me see what I can do here. It actually was not running, so we got to run it one more time. Make sure that Cobalt Strike is actually executing, and then we'll be able to look at the information of it. So let's now open up Process Explorer, and it should be listed right there. Boom, there we go. Okay, cool. So now it's there, and now we can look at that. And you know what? There was an interesting little option here. So when I right click on it, there's a button that says check virus total. So that's cool. So properties, and now we're going to go to TCP IP here. There it is. So let's expand this, and 46.17. Okay, so now I need to make sure that I can find the port it's connecting to. Okay, so if it is not in here, the one place that I know for a fact we can actually find port information is on Wireshark. So that is the one place. I wonder if there is Wireshark that's installed on here. If it's not, we might be able to look for something else. So let me see. Where is it? Is there anything inside of the sample file? Do we have like a PCAP? Oh, we do have. We have a Cobalt Strike PCAP file over here. and it is a Wireshark capture file. So I'm just going to double click this, see if it opens up with Wireshark. It's probably installed already on this machine. I hope it is, and hopefully it'll actually open up in Wireshark. And it does. Look at that. It's opening up the PCAP file inside of Wireshark. Usually it takes a couple of seconds for it to load. You can definitely look at essentially any detail of anything that you want, including the port numbers that it's connecting to. Now, what's easy about this is that there's a display filter portion at the top right here that you just kind of look for IP addresses, all right? So I'm just going to do IP.addr, and then we will do equals equals. So that's how you double check the actual IP address. You do a double equal sign to make sure that it actually means equal. So we'll do 47.120.46.210, and that's going to be the IP address of our C2 server. And then boom, we actually have these things right here. And so you see it right here. So 1010, 155, 140, that's us. The destination is this guy. And then so you have right here. So this is our port, and then that's his port that is connecting to, and you see it right there. And then our port, his port, our port, his port. So 81 is the port number that he's connecting to. And then during the analysis, final question, we found a process called Cobalt Strike. What is the parent process of Cobalt Strike? And it was literally right there. I think it's explorer.exe. Boom, that's it. That is it. We are officially done with all of the tasks inside of this lab. That was fun. I hope you had a good time too. That was pretty cool. So we got a chance to run some pretty cool exercises in today's video, and we got a chance to do some nice investigations as a part of our FlareVM room. So FlareVM is a pretty interesting set of tools that is kind of compiled together for people who want to go into investigations and looking at a variety of either malicious files or processes. And I thought this was great. I think it's a very important series of tools. It's nice that some of these things we have already talked about and we've already used, for example, volatility, for example, Wireshark, and these various tools. So it was nice that a lot of these things we were, or at least some of these things we were already familiar with, especially if you've gone through the CySec101 playlist with me, through this training series with me. We've gone through several of these tools, so you should be familiar with Wireshark, for example. So that was really nice. It was good to see that we can use it in different contexts. And the other part of it is that we were introduced to a few new tools that I think is going to serve very useful in future exercises. And if you decide to actually go into forensic investigations and digital forensics and those types of areas, these things are going to be very, very useful for you. So this was a very insightful room. This was an insightful exercise, and I hope you actually found some value out of it as well. If you found this video useful and you would like to get more videos like this in the future, I do encourage you to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so that you get notified the next time that a video comes out on this channel. We are pretty much wrapped with the CySec101 playlist. There's 2 other videos that kind of wrap up this playlist, and it has to do with security principles and just the training that needs to be done for people on your team when it has to do with cybersecurity. But for the most part, we're done with CySec101 as far as the tools themselves are concerned and all the individual tactics and techniques that we're going to be running. So that is it for this specific video, and for the most part, I would say this playlist, but there's a bunch of other playlists that are in the works. And then there's things like Network Plus that just came out. There's going to be Ethical Hacker and Pentest Plus that's going to come into the future. The immediate future for us holds the AI for Cybersecurity training series that's going to be coming out, which is very, very powerful. So all of these things are in the near future. And if you would like to get notified when those videos come out, make sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Drop a comment if you have any questions about the exercises that we ran today. If you have any questions in general, or if you just want to say hi, just keep in touch with me. But apart from that, I do want to see you in the community. So please make sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified the next time that a video comes out. If you're serious about your CySec training and want access to me on Discord, consider joining Hackaholics Anonymous. We have 4 tiers: the Supporter, Agent, Guardian, and Master. Each tier gets their own Discord server and early access to content. The Agent, Guardian, and Master levels get exclusive content, exclusive downloads, monthly Python automations, live streams with me every month, plus so much more. And to join, you can simply click the link in the description below, or you can go to our homepage and click the join button there, or you can go to youtube.com/@HankHacks, hackers/join, and you'll be able to join Hackaholics Anonymous. I hope I see you in my Discord chats. If not, I hope I see you in the comment section, and that is it. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker/protector. If no one else loves you, Hank loves you. Love, peace, and chicken grease, and I'll see you in the next video later.